In this video, it's the return of E-Waste Wednesday. That's right, I've got some e-waste goodies to bring back from my trip there, including this IBM PS2 system. Take a quick look and see if that's worth saving or maybe doing a follow-up video on. We've got this portable home video system. That's right, it appears to be a VCR Boombox. So we'll have to take a look at that. And then this piece of interesting all-metal ruggedized thing. I don't know what it is. Maybe it came from McDonald's or something. But it has USB 3, and I think it even has Windows 10 on it. So we might just have to take that apart and see if that's worth saving for a later project. Anyway, it's coming up right now on the Retro Hack Shack After Hours. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another edition of E-Waste Wednesday. That's right, Wednesday is the day that I go out to my e-waste place and find things that have been dropped off, purchase them there, save them from scrap, and sometimes I'm able to refurbish them. And ultimately, the first thing I do is I bring them back here to E-Waste Wednesday videos and take a quick look at them and see if they're worth doing another video on the main channel to do like a full repair or something like that, or maybe it's just something quick that we can fix in today's video. So before I get too far, I do want to say thank you to all my patrons. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your support, and you can sign up for early release and ad-free content over on patreon.com. All right, let's go ahead and get a look at the first thing randomly that I choose to look at. So let's take a look first at this PS2 computer because, well, I can't move this thing right now. I'm on weight restricted movements. I can't lift over 10 pounds. So I've got to have people come help me move either of these two things for the next few weeks. And so these I was just able to scoot over. So that's how we're playing this game today. In case you're wondering, can I get somebody to move this stuff for me until my eye heals from a recent surgery and I can move stuff again. So this is an IBM PS2 monitor from IBM, the official monitor that went with the PS2 line. And this is an IBM PS2 model 55SX. Now, these came in actually on separate days to eWaste, and I was lucky because I was going to include this in an eWaste Wednesday video, the computer itself, which came in first, and then I had to have eye surgery, another one, and so I wasn't able to do that. And luckily for me, when I came back from the week after surgery and went back to eWaste, they had gotten the monitor. Now, I can't guarantee that these went together. Perhaps we'll find an indication of whether they did or not. But, who knows? Maybe they did, or maybe it was just coincidence that they came in on separate days. I will tell you one thing. I'm not able to see it. There is, maybe I can see it right in here. There is burn-in on this monitor, and I believe it says Bank of America. Fortunately, with my bad eyes, I can't see it. Maybe I'll be able to zoom in the video on this thing and see it a little bit better in post, but it looks like there's like a welcome screen or a sign-in screen that basically sat on here with a little menu on it. And a buddy of mine, Will, when we picked this up, he could clearly see this because he has good eyes, and he could clearly see that this says Bank of America something, but it does clearly say on the side here, property of Bank of America. So, that really confirms it. If the burn-in didn't tell us enough, it has property stickers on the side. Now, I didn't get this from Bank of America. I didn't steal this monitor since Bank of America is still out there. If somebody from Bank of America is watching this, just know that someone else ripped off your monitor in 1987, and eventually in 2025, it found its way to eWaste. So yeah, don't blame me. I just happened to pick this up because it was going to be trashed. There's no hidden secret corporate data on the monitor, and probably none on this computer, if indeed this came from Bank of America as well. Although there's no Bank of America stickers that I can see on the computer itself. So I'm guessing that this probably just was a coincidence that these two things came in together. And over here on this side, we have another Bank of America property sticker. I went ahead and turned the switch off so that we can start plugging some of this in to take a look. Before I do that, I need to get someone to help me move this monitor so we can just take a quick look inside the computer itself, see if maybe there's still a hard drive there or whatever. There's definitely a floppy drive, and see if there's any shorts on the system. Now, this thing does have a lock on the side, so you can lock the case up for keep people from getting into it. But luckily for me, this is in the unlocked position, The screws come out, but they don't come all the way out. They stay in there. I guess that's a nice feature to have. I don't know what you call these things, but it's basically screws that have a nut or whatever on the other side, some sort of retaining ring so that they don't fall out on you. I guess that was an improvement on IBM's part. So you didn't lose those screws. I don't know. Let's take the case off. All right. Well, we are definitely in luck, people, because not only is this thing in great shape, it has some dust in it, but otherwise it's in very, very good cosmetic shape, both the case and the insides. It also has a hard drive. So if this hard drive actually works, we might be able to see where this came from or what was on this, unless somebody, of course, has reformatted it over time. This is just a really, really interesting system. I mean, look at this power switch over here. If you're familiar with the older IBM systems, they had those power supplies with the red chonky button on the side of the computer when you would go to turn it on. And this one also has a red chonky button, but it's inside the case. And the way that the power switch works over here to turn the system on and off is literally just moving the red chonky button via this metal extension rod here. So I just find that fascinating that they didn't have a better way to do this. So they're like, we'll just wire up a extension rod and put the switch on the front, no problem. And that was actually engineered that way. Really interesting. It also has the typical IBM cloth model number logo thing attached to the speaker wire, exactly where it would have been on older PC and PC XT systems. They had this cloth model number thing. So this has the part number here, which I wish I could read. I believe it says 27. Glad they don't put this on the vision test at the doctor's office. 2774624, I believe, is the part number. So yeah, permanently attached. Well, as permanent as it gets, I guess, with this cloth part number. And luckily they put the date code or the date of manufacture right on the back. I could see this one. It says April 29th, 1981? No, can't be 1981. What? This has to be 1991, right? But it looks like 1981 to me. So it's certainly not 1901. I don't know. Couldn't be 1981 though, I'm sure. Right, so you can see the slots over here. It has a riser card and then 3 different slots. Now I'm not sure. Wikipedia was saying that the early models of this only had the 16-bit microchannel architecture or slots for expansion cards here, but I'm seeing 2 different sizes. So I'm not a microchannel expert. This is only the second PS2 system I've been able to work on in the Hack Shack here. So you can tell me in the comments, but these shorter ones perhaps are the 16-bit, and then maybe this longer one is the actual 32-bit microchannel. Yeah, not exactly sure, but we've got 3 slots. 2 of them are shorter. 1 of them is longer. We've got the BIOS here. We've got a Datalux chip, which I believe is in a socket. Lucky for us. May have to mod this to get this working, but we'll just give it a quick power up and just see what we get. May not be much if the BIOS is now gone and needs to be reloaded with a setup disk, which it probably does. Might not get very far, but let's go ahead and test for shorts and then go ahead and plug it in and see if it works. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and test this with the power supply plugged in. A lot of times I'll do this separately, but I think for today, I'm just going to go ahead and test it. We won't know where the short is, either if there is one, if it's on the power supply or on the motherboard, but at least this way, if there's no shorts here, then we can feel pretty good about turning this thing on. So let me just find the best way to get in. This is a different power controller than the IBM PC has. Okay, so that's not a short. It's not a dead short. There's 7 ohms there, which is probably just the capacitors in here. There's a 12-volt line. Nothing doing there. And that's got to be, I think, -5 there, maybe. Let's try the blue wire. And nothing on the blue wire. All right. No shorts, apparently. So before we actually turn on the main system here, I do want to just do a quick test on the monitor itself. I'm going to be using this neat little device I found on AliExpress. Don't know if it's still there, but it's a VGA tester. And it doesn't do a lot of testing, but it will at least generate different colors. So you can see, red, white, or red, green, blue, and white. And I think a couple of patterns as well. And you can power it. You can see I've got a little USB thing on here connected to the power connections. And so I can power this. When I go to eWaste, I take this and I take one of these little USB batteries and stick them in my pocket. That way, if I want to test any monitors while I'm there, just to make sure that they're not completely dead, I can just use this, hook it up to the VGA input, and at least see if they generate color. Now, I've never tried it on a VGA monitor this old. Usually it's with newer ones, but hey, let's try it and see if it works. Okay, the monitor is plugged in. 3, 2, 1, let's see what happens. Okay, I heard raster, I heard high voltage, getting static, hearing some sort of high-pitched sound. Oh, that doesn't look good. This might need a little bit of work. Let's see what the other patterns look like here. Yeah, so that's red, green, blue. That's supposed to be a color pattern test. You can see it's not looking good. That looks okay, though. The lines are nice and sharp and in focus, so maybe we just have some bad caps on the color lines or some tweaking that needs to happen on those pots. But yeah, some of these modes definitely are not working, and some of them won't work because they're higher modes that you need a higher end monitor to support. So this probably does not support them. But yeah, if we go back down through, we can get back to those colors. Yeah, blue, green, red. I think this is supposed to be white. So unfortunately, this monitor is going to need some repair work. One thing to keep in mind is with these older systems like this, actually PS2, I believe, was the one that actually got the VGA standard off and running. I think it started with the PS2. I think that was the first system to actually use it. And the original spec, or at least how they implemented it was with a couple of pins, one in particular, missing from the VGA plug here. So if you're using a newer VGA cable, then you might not get it to fit because it actually has space or a plug where you have to plug this in. You can see this one's missing some of the pins in here to accommodate that. So make sure you have an older VGA cable, or you can actually snip some of those pins off, but it's not always the best. And you can find these things. I mean, I find them in eWaste all the time. I'm assuming you can find these either online or whatever for super cheap these days. Just make sure for this old of a system, you have the right cable with the missing pins. All right, well, I know that Datalux chip is probably dead, so I don't know if this will boot up or do anything at all, but I've got my trusty keyboard hooked up to my Hitman USB to PS2 and AT keyboard converter that I saw on my website, so we're ready to go and try this out. Cross your fingers, hope nothing blows up. Here we go. But wait, before you turn on that computer, isn't there something you forgot to tell us about, I can hear you saying? Well, you'd be right. I forgot to tell you about the sponsor of this episode, PCBWay. PCBWay has been a sponsor of my channel for years, and with good reason. They offer low-cost, high-quality prototype PCBs, assembly services, CNC milling, 3D printing, and even more. They also have a great community site where you can order projects on demand. So check out PCBWay, and I thank them for their support of the Retro Hack Shack. Here we go. We've got sound coming from the fan. Oh, look at this. Look. It's counting the memory. It's counting up the memory. I think this had like 2 megs of memory or something. Let's see what we get to. No, looks like 8 megs. So maybe this was an upgrade. I don't know. Looks like it's counting up to 8 megs though. Let's see if it gets past this point. Oh no. Okay. Not okay. CIBM. So it's got a 161 error and a 163 error. And doing a quick Google search tells me that the 161 error is bad CMOS battery. Yep, we know that. And the 163 error is the clock not updating or invalid time set. So that's because of that Datalux chip. Now, I think I either have an extra Datalux chip or can go ahead and modify this one, but I think that's all we're going to do for this one today because it looks like there's more interesting stuff to find on this. So we'll save that for a main channel video, and maybe we can fix up that monitor, get it all working and cleaned up again as it should be, and see if there's any Bank of America data on that old 40-year-old hard drive or 35-year-old hard drive that's still in here. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see in a main channel video. All right, next up, I wanted to talk briefly, at least, about this. It's not vintage, actually, but it is an e-waste find, and it's the Datalux Tracer. And I would imagine this is some sort of something you would use for either portable or maybe at like a McDonald's or something, point of sale or ordering machine or something, because it's got up and down buttons here. It's got a brightness button here and then a power on and off button. And that's pretty much it. So I assume the rest would be, clickable stuff. It's very, very dirty. And, it was just kind of interesting. The thing about this that I don't get is it's all cast metal, cast aluminum probably. It's very, very heavy. In fact, this little thing, I probably shouldn't even be lifting this. This is probably over my 10-pound weight restriction, but we're just going to go for it. So yeah, it's got a little microphone here, it looks like, or speakers maybe. There's two things for speakers. And on the back, it's got this really heavy-duty mount on the back of it. I don't know if that's Visa standard or not, but it's definitely meant to be mounted somewhere very securely. And it's got a bunch of ports. Like I said in the intro, I think it's got Windows 10 Pro on it by default. So I've got that serial number there if I ever need it. And it's got a bunch of ports down here. So there's a networking port, there's 2 USB ports, another networking port, 2 more USB ports that say SS, I think. So let's see. Yeah, those are blue. So those are USB 3, another USB port, and then what looks like maybe a display port, like a mini display port coming out of there, I think. And then it's got a audio connection at the end for mic and audio out. And then over here, it's got it looks like this would be like a Wi-Fi or some sort of antenna, maybe for either Wi-Fi or GPS, because that's not probably going through this metal. That signal would not make it. And then it's got a very weird power connector. So I'm not sure you can see that, but it's like a 7-pin mini DIN or something. And I think it screws in, it inserts and then screws in. Something like that, a very weird power connector. So I can't just hook this up and power it up easily. I think what I'm going to do is actually take this apart. And if it takes like a 12-volt input or something like that, which meant to have a power brick on the end, maybe I can attach 12 volts to this and power it up and just see if it works. Oh, and over here on the side was the place for a hard drive. I can see in there, there's like a SATA connection in the back there. So this would take a 2.5-inch hard drive. In fact, let's look this up and see if we can find any details, because there's also this over here that has screws. I wonder if you could put a CD-ROM or something over on this side. Okay, I looked this up, and this is the tracer, as we saw on the front there, the Datalux Tracer TF120 for fixed mount mobile data communications. And that picture down there kind of looks like a cop car or something. It looks like this is from 2018, and it says this is a pioneering tracer fixed mount PC for mobile data computing. Says the display is a 12.1-inch sunlight readable display, and it talks here about the rugged packaging, the all-metal construction, and it says for public safety professional as legacy, something about it being compared to the legacy tracer units, but the public safety professional. So yeah, this would have been for police officers or perhaps for EMS or something like that. Oh yeah, that makes sense, because this website I'm on is actually called ems1.com. So this is actually for EMS people, I guess, for them to buy their equipment from or something like that. Okay, I've got all the screws out, and the computer part is actually in the back here. The monitor is actually in the front. And there is a card here. I don't know if that's for storage, but it looks like there's 2 places for cards. Maybe one is for storage, one is like for a modem or Wi-Fi. I don't know. But yeah, here's the display. If this display actually works, this might be something good to salvage from this to use in another project. So I'm going to have to take some of these wires out of the way so I can really get in here and look. But looks like things are sandwiched in here pretty well. The inside looks like kind of like a standard, but not standard, but kind of like a laptop design, thin design to fit in a thin shell like this. All right, well, I think I've come to a stopping point, and the reason why is this power supply. It's got these, thicker black and red wires. I was able to find like a parts list from the state of Ohio police, state police or something. They had all the parts numbers and everything for this, and the power supply for this was not the actual power supply part number. It was this company's part number that's on top of somebody else's part number. Anyway, the only part I was able to find for the power supply said it was a 15-volt power supply. And it's possible that they broke out the 15 volts here into 2 feeds going into 2 different parts of the board or 2 different boards. So potentially I could have put the power supply on this, set it to 15 volts, 4 amps, see what happens. But then there's this other little dinky one that's attached to 4 other pins on this connector, and that goes into the motherboard here. And I just don't see any way that this is just a simple 15-volt connection. I know that's what I came up with, but something else is going on here, some sort of voltage divider or something that's custom for this thing. And yeah, I'm not going to go any further with this. It's not that interesting. It's an i5, Intel Core i5. It's got, I forget, like 16 gigs of memory or something on it. It might be useful for something, but it's just not worth me buying a special power supply and paying $50 for something I found at eWaste. So unfortunately, that's where we're going to end this particular exploration. All right, and now we come to what I am maybe most interested in this video anyway, from the stuff that I found at eWaste and taking a look at. And it is this. This is the Sharp Video Cassette Recorder VC2250. And again, my buddy Will found this. I don't know where it was stashed, but I didn't see it my first look through at eWaste, but he found it. And yeah, it's not a boombox. It is a portable VCR. So, I'm guessing this probably got popular when video stores started to become popular, because they could rent this out and you could hook it up to your TV. Now, I remember really, really early on when VCRs came out, I think we rented one time as a family to watch some movies. And it was a standard one that you would see. It wasn't like this, but we did rent it to try it out, I think, before we actually got our own. And it was not this type, but this is really nice because it has a handle. It does kind of look like a boombox, which is what I thought it was at first glance. And it needs a handle because this thing is quite heavy. So let's just go ahead and take a look at all the controls, and then we'll plug it in and see if it actually comes to life. All right, going handheld so we can get a close-up at this beauty. Look at this. We got a power button over here, tape counter, reset the tape counter, of course. Well, we got a battery indicator, so this would run off some sort of battery. I don't know how big the battery pack would have to be to actually power this thing, but it had a battery level indicator on it. So truly a portable VCR here. So for the buttons up here, it looks like they all have LED indicators on them as well above here. But we've got pause, record, audio dub, fast forward, play, stop, and rewind, as you might expect. There's something called video search and eject. It looks like the video search has been used quite a bit because there's, a lot of wear on it like that. And then we've got the TV VTR button, which would switch back and forth between the TV pass-through. If you hook this thing up to an antenna, I'm assuming it has a tuner inside because of all the buttons over here. So you could hook this up to an antenna, and then you could hook it up to your TV, and you could either watch TV, or if you clicked it the other way, you could watch whatever was playing on here. And there you can see some, I assume, some preset buttons for different tuner channels so that you could record your favorite show. And then we have some sort of a digital readout here. We'll see what that looks like in a minute. And then down here we have some other controls. There looks like there was maybe a plastic window that went over this. I think I see clock set, start, end. So yeah, you could set your clock and your timer here. And there's also a little knob here for tracking. Whoop, I didn't think that was actually moving, but yep, moving. It was set for the middle there. And it looks like some maybe fine-tuned controls here. I see U and V, so maybe that was UHF and VHF. So yeah, some extra controls in there to set your tuning and all that kind of stuff up. Now, unfortunately, on this one, someone has thought that this was a sexy peel time, and unfortunately, it was not, because this actually has all of the branding and stuff on it on this plastic piece, and someone has pulled this off. So maybe there's a way to fix that. Maybe I can work on that and see if we can get that to lay down flat again and stick to the plastic door here. But that is not a sexy peel time. But yeah, on the front here it says new portable home video, and it's got the Sharp branding and all that. So yeah, I don't know if maybe this was meant to be peeled, but I don't think so. It's very thick, and it's got some instructions here. Press here firmly. After insertion of cassette, press here firmly. So I think this was meant to stay on. And then, I don't know what they were going here. Here's some family-friendly branding or something. It says My Video. So I don't know if that was a branding thing that Sharp used back in the day, but yeah, there's nothing really else about it that says this is like my anything, except I guess at the time, this big honking thing was maybe considered a personal electronics device. Over here on the side, we have various inputs for antenna, coax, coax in, coax out, composite in and out, audio. So yeah, I might have to actually use the RF output on this to actually see if this thing is working. And then it has this interesting like military style connector. Maybe this was just easy. Maybe I can find the data sheet for this thing so we can figure out what that connector is. Maybe I can get composite out of this as well. And on the back, there's not a whole lot going on here. We've got a channel selector here between 3 and 4 for the output. And then we've got the label here for those who are interested in reading labels. There you go. And then other than that, it's just there's like, I thought this was batteries, but it actually, if we open this up, we can see it's actually like a transformer in there. And so I'm guessing you could switch this based on what country you were in, maybe. Let's see if it comes out. It does come out. I don't think that's a battery pack. I think that is, I could be wrong, but I think that is just a transformer. But perhaps that was where a battery would go. You might take this out and maybe put the battery in there. I don't know, but I don't think that's a battery pack. Now, the other thing you'll notice here on the back is it does have some feet as well, because I think this was meant to, you could carry it like this, obviously, and you could probably even play it like this, but I think, I'm not supposed to lift that. I think this was meant to be also used this way, more like a regular desktop VCR. Remember, the early VCRs had the tape doors on the top, a lot of them. I've got a couple like this. And what they would do is when you hit the eject button, they would kind of, rewind the tape inside there, and then they would pop up like this. So we'll see if that one does that as well. I've done a little bit of reading on this thing so far, and I think one of the biggest culprits is it doesn't load tapes. So we'll have to see if this thing doesn't load or doesn't work. Obviously, we'll be doing a further repair video on it. But let's just go ahead and plug it in and see if we get any life out of it. Okay, well, I've got everything set up. I've got my TV up and running. The system is plugged in, and I was pleased to see that the clock came on. We'll see if it does anything else, but it came on to 12 o'clock p.m. Of course, the blinking clock, if you ever owned one of these VCRs and got tired of setting the timer, and as technology progressed, these things just ended up saying 12 o'clock pretty much all the time. Went down to my local Blockbuster and picked up a copy of Ronin so that we could test with. Now, of course, I got this somewhere along the way. I forget, I saw these Blockbuster tapes and picked them up just for nostalgic sake, and this just happens to be Ronin, which I test with because I could care less about the movie. So yeah, so I think the first thing is, can we even get the door open? So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Should be on now, and let's hit eject. Uh-oh, yeah, nada. And there's no power on LED either. And we obviously have power here. No eject, no play, no dice. Oh, that was anticlimactic. I mean, the fact that I don't even have power on this section, I mean, there's power getting through, but there's no power on this section, so maybe there's a power problem. Maybe a fuse blew. That's very common. That can happen on these old ones, because what happens is the grease gets all cruddy and yucky, and the gears struggle to drive the motors and stuff, and you end up blowing a fuse. So this could be a fuse problem. I've seen that before, not on this particular model, but on other VCRs. And then it could just be a matter of cleaning up and replacing belts, but we're not going to know, unfortunately. I went to all this effort to get this thing hooked up, hoping we would see something, and it was a complete fail on my part, I guess. So all that effort for nothing, but that's okay. It's worth testing this stuff out to see whether it works or not, so that I know how much work I'm going to have to put into fixing this stuff. I'm pretty happy with what we found today. A seemingly working PS2 that we'll explore in a follow-up repair video, a non-working police laptop thing, very ruggedized, but not worth really saving. And then, of course, we have the Boombox VCR from Sharp here. And I really do want to get this thing going, because this is just a really cool piece of VCR history here, I think. I don't think it's worth a whole lot, but I love it. I think it looks like a boombox, and that makes me love it even more. Anyway, like I said, video's over here. Go click on them, and we'll see you in that one next. Thanks for supporting the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.
End of line.